Declare yourselves just by unmuting yourself and saying your name and your job title for us, please. We want to acknowledge you in the audience. So if there are any of you out there, band 8D and upwards, now is your chance to let us know that you're there. Tell us your name and what your job title is. That would be really wonderful. So we have a sense of who you are and all of that. Okay, so I'm hearing silence. So rather interestingly, there are no very senior managers within UCLH on this call. Extraordinary. Okay. So let's move on then. Tonight's session is mainly about your experiences. It's called Checking In. And we want to check in with you, find out your views, find out how you've been coping over the past year. We know it's been very, very difficult, very, very challenging, more so than all the challenges that we have kind of sadly had to grow accustomed to previously. COVID landing on top of it all just compounded the issues. And so tonight's your opportunity really to share about your experiences and to get feedback, to ask questions of our panel members who I'll introduce in a moment. Okay, so take full advantage of this opportunity. We're very keen working with Loxley and Pat on this program as a whole, but on this particular event, they were very keen actually to give you this space as a priority. This is the first event for Black History Month and you have it. It's about you, it's about your experiences. So take advantage of that. And I don't want to take up too much more time rambling on with introductions. I will now introduce our two panelists, and it's such a delight for me because I've known both of them for very many years. And I would say personally, as I mentioned, I was a nurse here at UCLH for many years, and I left as a band 7. But really, the impetus, the confidence that I then developed to actually make the move that I needed to make in order to progress my career really came because I met Joan Myers and many people on the CNO BME SAG group, including Paulette Lewis. Joan Myers is one of the most inspirational people that I know personally. And really, you will find that, you know, across the NHS, when you're talking to BME staff who have heard her speak, who have interacted with her, they will tell you the same thing. They have been role models for me, and they literally have changed my career trajectory. And just being around them has just really, what's the word really? Well, boosted my resilience, helped me to move forward. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. So Joan is a trustee in terms of what she does. Joan is recently retired from the NHS, but she's a trustee and director at the Florence Nightingale Foundation. And in fact, she's the London rep for the Royal College of Nurses. I suddenly realized, oh, Unison is putting on this event, and we've got a person who is actually the lead for 62,000 nurses at the other union, but never mind. We can all still work together. Joan was honored with an OBE for her services to children and nursing in the Queen's Birthday Honours list in 2013. You know, this lady, if I was to tell you the list, if I was to list the awards that Joan has won, we would actually be here for the 2 hours and more, just talking about that. And she's so modest, she's so humble, she's so approachable still, but she is one of the most dynamic women that I know, one of the most dynamic leaders that I know. She's received numerous awards, as I said, and as well, I think close to her heart is a charity that she started up called Rehoboth Children's Home in Kenya. So she's just been amazing. And the other new thing about Joan is that she launched her own business this year, and it's called Joan Myers Consultancy. And what the core of that service is offering coaching, mentoring, support to Black, Asian, and minority ethnic people in particular, but in fact to anyone who wants to come to be mentored and coached by her for career progression. With regards to Paulette Lewis is an MBE holder as well, honored by the Queen. Again, you know, Paulette has done many great exploits. She is a highly experienced leader and director. She currently works as a non-exec director in an NHS trust. Oh, I thought you were with the CCG, Paulette. Forgive me if I've made an error there, but you can correct it when you come up to speak anyway. So I'm just giving you a very superficial overview of these women, and when they come up to share their stories, I'm sure they'll tell you a little bit more about the different roles that they have done over the years. Paulette is a leadership consultant, and in fact, she was the former president of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, UK, which I'm hoping many of you would have heard of, because actually a very dynamic organization, far-reaching across the world, not only in the Caribbean, but in Africa as well. They've done a lot of work in places like Chad, etc. And hopefully we'll work with them going forward to do some work in Gambia also. So they will share a little bit more of what they do and who they are. They will each share from the agenda. They've got 20 minutes each coming up now to share about their careers and some of their wisdom with us. And after each one speaks, you will have an opportunity for questions as well, questions and answers. There is a chat, as you know, on Zoom, so feel free also to put comments or questions in the chat, and I will try very hard. Loxley, if I can enlist your help to help keep an eye on questions and comments within the chat as I try to also chair, that will be really helpful. If you want to speak, please put your hand up on the Zoom, and hopefully many of you know this by now, but at the bottom of your screen, there is buttons that you can press, and it's really a hand clap. So if you just click on the hand clap, that will show me that you've got your hand raised, and then I will in turn let you speak. So there will be the usual ground rules for an event like this, and meeting protocols, which we need to adhere to so that we have a productive meeting, and that everybody, as far as possible, who wants to say something can actually say something. So as I mentioned, put your hand up. When you're speaking, please keep the messages as short as possible and to the point, so that, again, you allow space and time for others who need to share their views and ask questions. Be respectful of other people's views. I don't need to emphasize that too much, because I'm sure we all have very professional people in the call. So without further ado, unless Loxley or Pat Isaacs want to say something. Pat did mention that you might want to say something towards the end, Loxley, but I don't know whether you want to, do you want to do that towards the end, or do you want to come in now and say anything? Give your blessing, as it were, over the start. This is the launch of your Black History Month program.
Absolutely. Just briefly, yeah?
Yes.
You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. Well, look, thank you very much for joining this. This is the first, I think this is the very start of something which is hopefully going to be quite big. I know Pat and the rest of us have been working really hard on this. And this primarily is for you guys. Yeah, we want the Unison, we want the Black members portion of Unison to be for you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you need. We want to hear your issues. We need to hear from you so that we can start to do something about it. We need to start tackling some of the issues that we have, and we know they're out there, because you come and talk to us all the time, and this gives us a really nice big forum in order to do that. So please, if you've got something on your mind, please feel free to speak up here, and hopefully whatever we hear tonight, we can make a start to try and take this forward. So just thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Loxley. Thank you again to Unison for the sponsorship of these events on all the programs for Black History Month for you all. Without further ado, I'm going to call on Joan, Dr. Joan Myers, OBE, to tell us about her career and her story, and be her usual inspiring self.
Good evening. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for that fantastic introduction. Thank you to Pat and Loxley for giving me the opportunity to share tonight. It's a pity that I can't see everybody's faces. Everybody's hidden behind their cameras. Are they not allowed to open their cameras, or they just don't want to? I don't know. But I thought I'll share about empowering yourself and be empowered, because that's what, when people ask you to talk about your career progression, they want to feel encouraged, inspired to actually progress themselves and see the opportunities that they have. So I've got a slideshow. I'm going to see whether I can share the screen. Host disabled participant screen sharing, it says. So I did send this presentation to Pat. So unless you enable me, I won't be, I'm disabled. Oh, you're muted, Michelle. You're muted.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? This muting and unmuting. It looks like Loxley might be working on getting you and sharing, enabling you to share.
Okay.
So perhaps you can just tell us a bit about yourself, if you like, in the meantime.
Okay, I'll start. Well, that's just talk, shall I? Well, I'll start from the very beginning. When I was 3 years old, my mother gave me a nurse's uniform as a Christmas present. And from that day, I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. When I was 11 years old, and actually after that, when I was at school, I used to take a little tin of plasters to school with me and put them on all of my friends. And when I was 7 years old, my best friend cut her finger at home, and she refused to let her mother put the plaster on, and she had to bring her around to my house. And luckily, I only lived around the corner, and I was able to put a plaster on my friend's cut that was bleeding, and that solidified my desire to be a nurse. However, when I was 11 years old, my mum started her nurse training, and she became an enrolled nurse, and she advised me not to do nursing. She said, I won't enjoy it, I won't like it, the people are not very nice, they're racist, you'll really hate it, don't do it. I said, I don't want to be anything else but a nurse. So she made me promise not to become an enrolled nurse. She was an enrolled nurse, and actually the enrolled nurses were the practical nurses. They were excellent nurses. They're the hands-on, the nurses that did the real jobs, really. And she told me if I wanted to be a nurse, not to do enrolled nursing, which was a 2-year training, but to become a registered general nurse or state registered nurse, I think it was at that time, but registered general nurse training. So when I went for my interview, I had to have 5 O-levels. However, I talk a lot, as everybody that knows me knows. And at school, like starting off when I was little, I was always talking and disrupting the class at school and finishing my work really early, and then sort of being bored, disrupting the rest of the class and asking questions. And the teachers didn't like me. They were always telling me off, sending me out of the room and everything. And they told my mum that I was below O-level standard and incapable of writing an essay. And they advised my mum to let me leave school early because I was wasting my time, their time, and her time. And I had to convince my mum to let me I said, just give me one more chance. I won't mess about anymore. But I failed my O-levels, first GCSEs as you call them now. I failed them first time, I failed them second time. And they told me that I was good for nothing and I couldn't write an essay, incapable of writing an essay anyway, and that I wouldn't amount to much. So then one day I suddenly thought, it's not really up to anybody else, it's up to me. I'm in charge of myself. And I can do it if I really want to do it. So I decided just to buckle under, sort myself out, and study my lessons properly. And I did my O-levels for the 3rd time. And I think in those days, you're only allowed to do it 3 times anyway. 3rd time lucky, I passed. I went on, I thought I'm going to prove them all wrong. And I went on to do 8 O-levels. Then I did my A-levels, but I didn't need my A-levels to become a nurse. I got in to do my nurse training. You only needed 5 O-levels, but I did 8 just to prove them wrong. That's what I do. Did 8 O-levels. I went for my interview for my general training. They advised me to do my enrolled nursing at the interview, where I'm at the interview applying for the registered general nursing, and they're asking me to do the enrolled nursing. And thankfully, because I remembered what my mother said, I said, no, I don't want to be an enrolled nurse. I want to be a registered general nurse. Because why do you want to be a registered general nurse? You might as well just do an enrolled nursing. It's only 2 years. Why do 3 years when you could do 2 years? And remember, I was only 18. But because my mother told me, I said, no, my mum said I should. That's why I listen to your mothers, by the way. My mum's my best mentor and my best coach. So I was one of very few Black nurses at that time that did the registered general nursing course. So when I qualified, there was very few Black nurses at that level. And so that put me on the right trajectory to progress up the ladder. And the day I qualified, I told my manager that I qualified. She said, okay, you're in charge. And that was it. From that day, I was always in charge of everything. So obviously they must have noticed something in me. So I was always in charge. Then I did my pediatric course because I wanted to be a children's nurse, and I was doing my pediatric training, qualified, working on the ward, and I became a Christian. And I wanted to go to church on Sundays at least once in a while. But they wouldn't. But the sister on the ward told me that I couldn't have every weekend off. You should have thought about that before you came into nursing. You can't work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday as a nurse. I said, I'm not asking for that. I just asked to have one Sunday off a month at least. And in those days, as Black nurses, we had the worst off duty. I had to do 7 nights on, 7 nights off, a couple of days off on early, late, and then back on nights again, and hardly ever had the weekend off. And the sister on the ward didn't like me. And if they didn't like you, there was none of this flexible working nonsense, that we're not nonsense, flexible working stuff that we have now. If they didn't like you, that was it. And you couldn't complain to anybody. You just had to do the shift they gave you. But I said to her, I said, I don't want every weekend. Just give me one Sunday a month, just one. And she said, I should have thought about that before I came into nursing. You cannot work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday as a nurse. So I decided that I wanted to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 as a nurse, because she said I couldn't. I'm going to prove to her that I can. And it just so happened that because I was a senior staff nurse on the ward, I asked to do the off duty. And she allowed me. Nobody likes doing the rota. And I did the off duty, and I went around and I asked everybody, who wants to work on my Sunday, and I will work on your Friday or Saturday. So you can imagine everybody wants Friday and Saturday off, and nobody minds working on Sunday because it's usually the quietest day of the week. So that's how for 6 weeks straight, I had every Sunday off. And when the sister found out, she said, that's it. You're not going to have the Sundays off. But somebody sent me an unpublished dissertation about working in the community, pediatric home care teams, and there was only like 28 in the whole of the UK at the time. And I read about it and I thought, that's what I want to be. I want to be a community children's nurse. And I actually read this dissertation. And by the way, read research, read articles, expand your mind and think more broadly than where you are and what you're doing. Just because people want you to stay in a particular spot and they're not giving you opportunity, you need to take the opportunity yourself. The way I look at it, seize the opportunity in the lifetime of the opportunity. That opportunity may not come round again, so you need to seize it at the time. I read this unpublished dissertation. I decided I wanted to be a pediatric home care nurse, as they call them. It's community children's nurses, they call them now. I wanted to be one, but there was no advertisements for any, but that didn't stop me. I wrote my own job description. I want to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday as a pediatric home care nurse. And I sent it off to all the health authorities in London saying, this is what I want to do. Have you got any vacancies? I didn't hear from any of them. They must have just thought fruit in the bin or whatever. But a friend one day told me that she got a job in Camberwell. And I thought, Camberwell? I don't remember actually writing to them. And I looked in the yellow pages. Do you remember the yellow pages? I looked in the yellow pages, I found the number, I phoned the HR department, and I just said, I want to be a pediatric home care nurse. Have you got any vacancies? They said, it sounds similar to something they were advertising, but the closing date was the day before. If you know me, another thing that I do is I have to be persistent, insistent, and consistent. If you want something, you need to go for it. Don't let anybody stop you. And any obstacles, obstructions, and oppositions, see them as opportunities and ask yourself, what opportunity do I have to optimistically overcome my obstacles? See the windows of opportunity and go through the open doors. So they said they would send me the application form. I waited 10 days for it. They didn't send it. So I got in contact with them and I said, I know where you are. I'm coming to get my application form. And they said, no, it's okay. They sent it to me. Their job description was a spitting image of my job description practically. It was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, pediatric home care nurse, and it was as a G grade. Those days they had letters. I was at F grade and it was as a G grade. I stood in the form, sent it off, and then I looked at the information and it said that you had to be a health visitor or district nurse because it's a community post. And I didn't have the qualification. And I told them, and they said, well, if you're not shortlisted, we won't take you. But I was shortlisted, went for the interview. And at the end of the interview, and they asked me what research have I read recently that made me want to do this, that role. And I told them about this unpublished dissertation with the name of the person, the title, the date, everything. And this is what I want to do. And I was talking about it like I knew what I was talking about. And at the end, they asked me if I've got any questions. I said, I've got no questions, but I'll let you know that I'll take this job. But I'm only taking it on condition that you sponsor me to do my district nursing course. And they just looked at me like I'm a crazy person. I mean, at the interview, I'm not asking them, I'm telling them I'm taking the job. As far as I was concerned, the job was mine, and that was the end of the story. So they said, we've got many other applicants, we'll let you know. But they phoned me up, offered me the job. They said, start in a month's time. I said, no, I don't want to start in a month's time. I need to start on Monday. They go, no, you need a few days, you need a month. I go, no, I've left my other job already. I need to start now. The day I started, the poor woman that was going to be my manager, she looked at me, she said, the pediatric home care team starts today with you. Get the patients, get the paperwork, and tell everybody about it. And it was only at that point that I realised I didn't have a clue what I was supposed to do in the community, because I'd always work in the hospital. I've been working in the hospital like for 5 years, A&E, cardiovascular, plastic surgery, and now I'm in the community, and I hadn't even done a community course. So I got in contact with the person that wrote the unpublished dissertation, and he became my mentor, and he gave me all the information I needed, and he supported me. Always find somebody to help you along the way. You're not supposed to do anything in isolation. You should get a mentor, a coach, a role model, somebody that you can look up to, somebody that can answer the questions and could guide you along the way. And this guy helped me out big time. And so I worked in the team. So I set up the pediatric home care team in Camberwell. When the team disbanded after 3 years, it was primary money. They basically said, goodbye, you're the weakest link. And I said, well, I ain't going nowhere because I've got a permanent contract. So you have to just give me equal and equivalent work elsewhere. And so I sat there. Everybody left. Everybody in my team, there's like 6 nurses and myself, including myself. They all left, and I refused to leave. I just sat at my desk. And then one day I got a phone call from West Lambeth saying, we've heard of what you've done in Camberwell. Could you start a team up in West Lambeth? I said, on condition that you give me my own computer, my own office, my own mobile, and my own my own office, my own computer, and my own mobile. And I need a week off because I'm really suffering from stress. And they said, and they said yes, they allowed me. So then I went to Lambeth to work in Lambeth, and then from there I went to St Mary's in Paddington, which was the first paediatric home care team ever set up in 1954. And actually I modelled all the stuff I did from that team.
Joan, sorry to interrupt you, but it seems that you might be able to share now if you still want to.
Oh, okay then. Or shall I just continue talking?
It's up to you. Absolutely, yeah. Carry on.
How many minutes have I got left?
I'll give you 10 more minutes.
Okay, I might as well just... All right, let's see if I can screen share.
So we've just put it on multiple participants can share. So hopefully that works. Sorry, guys, about that. Interrupting her mid-flow.
That's all right.
But I'm also trying to summarize some of her points in the chat as well. So she's talking about don't do it in isolation, get some coaching, get some mentorship, find someone to mentor you. And actually, that's my story, changed my life as well. So I can attest to that. Are we there yet, Joan? No?
Yeah. Right. I don't know how to make it.
So it says you started sharing your screen, so that's a good sign.
Right. So that's it. So you can see, I hope everybody can see the presentation. Oops, it's moving along. Oops.
Beautifully colorful.
Let's go back. Oops, it's going all the way through.
Oh.
I don't know what's happened. Yeah.
I should have thought it's just like a screen share, a screen share thing on the PowerPoint at the bottom on your right.
Yeah. Okay. It's there. Oh, it's just been on its own.
Oh.
I might as well forget it because it's going to just flow through. It's missed all of.
Yeah. Carry on then. You're influenced full strings.
Okay.
So that's
sorry,
going forward
everybody.
without you prompting it.
I'm not touching it.
All right.
No.
Okay then.
Carry on.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that, Joan.
Okay. That's all right. That's okay. Let me just do something. Okay, if you could just see, I just want to touch that up a bit. If you can see this bit here, it says empower yourself. I'll put that first slide with all my titles on it because I want you to know that whatever you do, you have to be qualified to do it. And often we want to advance and progress, but we're not actually doing the work ourselves. And we're expecting our managers just to promote us. Why doesn't my manager realize that I'm really good and I should be the next level up? You have to go for whatever you want. So you need to empower yourself. And one way of doing that is having the qualifications. I remember the first Black director of nursing I ever met was when I was working at Guy's Hospital. She was absolutely phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. But when they changed all the grading processes around, she was downgraded from being the nursing officer, as they called them at the time, to becoming a band, a F grade outpatients sister in another hospital, which went from Guy's Hospital to Lewisham Hospital, just like that, because she didn't have any qualifications, although she had worked her way up to that position. And from that day, she was the only one that ever said to me, where do you see yourself in the next 3 years? So that's what made me think about what to do next, where to go. Don't sit where you are. You have a personal development plan, have a goal, and go for what you want. And you need to be enthusiastic about whatever you do. The question isn't who's going to let me. My thing is, who's going to stop me? Who's stopping you from doing what you want to do? You're in charge of your own self. Get on with what you need to do and stop trying to blame other people while you're in the position you're in. I come across lots of nurses. I've been applying for all the next level up. I'm a band 6 nurse. I've been applying for band 7 for 10 years and nobody will give me the opportunity. They're in the same hospital applying for a band 7 role and they're not getting it and they haven't actually got the message yet that they don't actually want you. I know it's brutal. It's really hard. But if they wanted you, they would have got you by now. They would have taken you, supported you, developed you, and they haven't. You're not a tree. Don't stay where you are. You're not rooted to the spot. Find somebody. My motto in life is go where you're celebrated. Don't stay where you're tolerated. Anytime you're denigrated, you'll never be appreciated. So go for it. Go to the next one. If you don't like something, change it. And if you can't change it, just change your attitude. And that's what we need to do. We need to just change our attitude about lots of things and stop putting the onus on other people to change on our behalf. You change yourself. And as I mentioned before, have a personal development plan. I'm no longer accepting the things that I cannot change. I'm changing the things that I cannot accept. You need to change things that you don't agree with, that you don't like. Don't wait for other people to do it for you. If you've got a personal development plan, you could plan where you're going. If you fail to plan, it means that if you fail to plan, it means that you've planned to fail. Have some kind of plan in place of your career direction and where you want to go next, what you want to do. And seize the opportunity, as I said. Self-empowerment is seeking the solution rather than fixating on the problem. And many of us, we're so fixated on the problem, the issue, the concern, the situation that we're in, that we're not even looking at for a solution. We're just always blaming somebody and trying to get somebody else to sort out our problems for us. You look at the problem and find out what could the solution to be to this problem. Now, I remember doing this leadership program, John Maxwell program, 360-degree leader. We are 360-degree leaders. We lead ourselves from within. We decide to get up in the morning, have a shower, eat our breakfast and go to work. We lead our colleagues, those on either side of us. We lead our subordinates, those that are below us. We train them up and guide them. But most important of all, you should lead your managers. So I'm very good at leading all my jobs I've been in. I've been very good at leading my managers and getting them to do what I want them to do. That's a very good skill to have. You just have to know how to do it. And then really important, when you know yourself, then you're empowered. When you accept yourself, you're invincible. And that's one of the things when I do coaching, most of the time I spend empowering people to be confident in themselves, to have self-esteem, self-worth and self-acceptance, and stop looking outwardly for other people to be stroking you and make you feel better about yourself. Empower yourself. And when you accept who you are, try not to be like anybody else. You can't be like me. You can't be like Paulette or Michelle or anybody else. Be like who you are, because you are who you are for a person. Nobody else is like you. And one of the things I always say is that you're one of a kind, right from God's mind. You are a divine design. There's no one else like you on the face of this, not just 1 in a million, you're 1 in 7.4 billion. And if you were not here, the world would not be the same without you. You're here for a reason, just for a season, not for life. But while you have life, make sure that you leave a legacy for life. And the only way to do that is have a passion, have a dream, have a purpose and fulfill it. We're only here for a short space of time, so do something that you really want to do. This is about staff engagement. Just a quick one here about staff engagement. When you're engaged with what you're doing in your workplace, you feel empowered, enhanced, enabled, engaged. And it says here, when I feel empowered, I could do better things. I have trust, I get flow, focus, I feel in control, I effect change, I accomplish things. I could change the course of history. I could change the course of myself. I can relax. I could do things my way with a clear conscience. You can read on and on there. We need to be engaged in what we're doing. If you're in the workplace, engage with your manager. Find out about your manager, what they want to do, what they like. My manager, I used to always make her a cup of tea. Always make her a cup of tea. We'd like a cup of coffee. As soon as she walked in the office, we'd like a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and I make a cup of tea and cup of coffee because she's my manager and she's helping me to get where I need to go. So I need
just one more minute for you.
Oops, one more minute. Oops. Respect yourself. Be yourself. Accept yourself. Value yourself. Forgive yourself. Bless yourself. Express yourself. Trust yourself. Love yourself. Empower yourself. And my last one. What's your level today? Where are you today? Where are you? At the bottom rung, I won't do it, I can't do it, or I want to do it. How do I do it? I'll try to do it, I can do it, I will do it. Yes, I've done it. You can achieve it. You can be who you want to be. Don't let anybody hinder you or stop you. We can all do it. We just need support and help along the way, and we will be able to do it. That's it in a nutshell. And there's details at the bottom if anybody wants to email or tweet me. I'm on Twitter. I'm a Twitter freak, by the way, so you can tweet me.
Wonderful. Joan, could you also put it in the comment box as well? So your Twitter or email or whatever else you want people to connect with you by. Okay. And wasn't that a fantastic first talk kicking off, not just this event, but in fact, the whole program around Black History Month? You've got history makers in speaking to us tonight, and they are also future makers. Yeah. So they're not just of the past. They're bringing the wealth of their experience and they're learning from their own experiences to us tonight. So they're history makers, but they're future makers as well. And they are available to help you to redesign your future and to take yourself forward into career progression, or to help resolve some of the issues where you are as well. So this is your opportunity now. Thank you so much, Joan, for that. You sounded like a little naughty girl when you were growing up. I had no idea you had any naughtiness in you whatsoever, but I did pick up on that. And fancy your mother buying your nurse's uniform at age 3. Wow.
Yeah, Christmas present. Yeah.
Christmas present. So does anybody have any questions for Joan that you would like to ask? You guys either put your hand up or just put a question in the comment box. Otherwise, we'll go to Paulette. Is that Loxley? You've got a question. Go ahead. Do unmute your mic.
Yeah, thank you, Joan. Thank you very much for that. Right, I found that really inspiring. Actually, as well as interesting. But I'm a big fan of men. You mentioned mentoring. I'm a big fan, right? But I know it comes down to finding the right mentor, finding the right person to lead you. So how do you go about finding the right mentor, or what advice have you got about sort of mentoring generally?
Well, thank you for that question. The first mentor I mentioned about was the guy that was actually the leader in community children's nursing, the one that wrote the unpublished dissertation. I needed him to get information on him and how to develop my service. So I got in contact with him, and he was really flattered, and he became my mentor. And he really supported me for many, many years. And then another mentor I had was when I did my leadership program. They gave me a white female director of nursing to help me to progress. And at the same time, we were allowed to have one. I found 2. I always do things a little bit extra. And then I had a black male general manager from a hospital as well. And the black manager helps me to do with all the stuff to do with black issues that I wasn't even aware of because I was blinded to it. And the white director helps me with all of the stuff to do with career progression. And one of the things she said to me, like, I wanted to do my master's. She said, well, just go and get a prospectus. Just start at the beginning. So I just got the prospectus and then think about what you want to do, look through it and choose what you want to do. And she just did it step by step by step. And that's what a coach or a mentor would do. So you find somebody that's in line with where you want to go. And then one of my best coaches, Lynette Phillips OBE, she came to me and told me, you need to progress to the next level. I will support you and I would help you. And she helped me with all my interviews, preparations for new jobs, because sometimes you think because you got the skills that you could just get there, but you can't get there just like that. Once you've gone past band 7, you might be a clinical expert, but once you're going up to band 8A, B, C, D, and my last post was a band 8D. I was a chief nurse before I actually retired last year. It's not even what you know, because they know that you know what you know, because you wouldn't be where you are. it's whether you get on with the people that you're working with and whether they feel that they can work with you. So you need to develop those soft skills that helps you to work alongside people on a higher level. So that's why you definitely need to have coaches, and Paulette Lewis is fantastic for that, for giving you the right sort of skills for that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So we've got another question from Rebecca, and also you can get a lot more detail about coaching and mentorship if you contacted Joan and access her services as well. So we've got Rebecca. She's asking, what would be your advice for a young person, Joan, trying to get into a career in the NHS during this pandemic? What's your advice for a young person trying to get into a career in the NHS? So Rebecca, are you saying that you're outside of the NHS, you don't actually currently have a job, but you're wanting to enter the NHS service?
Well, I would say the NHS is crying out for people, and there's all different, there's a ladder. You can start from the very bottom as a healthcare assistant. Oh, Rebecca's just graduated. What did you graduate as? If you graduated and you got, you could apply, you got the 5 O level when you got graduated, so you're even higher than that. Just apply to the NHS. Apply to the NHS to do your training. You have to go through the training process first and decide what you want to do and just apply.
Absolutely. And the sites, the commonest site is the nhs.jobs. nhs.jobs. I don't know whether Loxley has any other sites that he can refer Rebecca to, but nhs.jobs is by and large the biggest pool of jobs going in the NHS. They are advertised in other places as well, but certainly that would be very senior level posts. But nhs.jobs, I'll put it in the comment box as well. Has anybody else got further questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll move on to Paulette's talk now. Okay. Paulette?
Good evening.
Thank you so much, Joan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan, for a wonderful following from Joan. My name is Paulette Lewis. I've been around for over 35 years in the NHS. And I started out from high school, wanted to be a nurse. I actually came to this country when I was 3 years old. But my parents took us back to educate us in the West Indies. And there was an English lady who came to speak to us at a grammar school about nursing. And I was just fascinated about it. So I ended up back here. And as Joan said, when I got back here, because like many nurses from the West Indies, I was told, you know, I wanted to get back to Jamaica, to my family. 2 years is really fantastic. You can finish in 2 years and get back. It so happened that when I got here, 2 years in nice, cold Sunderland, and I was doing all my papers, and my teacher one day came up to, I can't forget his name, Mr. Gallen, he says, Lewis, all these papers you're doing, they're just fantastic. And I looked at him sort of, I said, what do you mean? He says, you're getting everything, all your bio, you know, coming from grammar school, being O levels and that. I said, yeah, we did biology. He says, are you sure you're on the right course? And I said, well, yeah, because I want to finish 2 years. And he was really very good. He says, you're on the wrong course. And, you know, it was really, really very good in terms of saying, right, you need to get yourself into another course. And he did all the paperwork, got me off from up north, Sunderland, down here into King Edward Hospital in London to start my SRN. And that was really very good. So after training as an SRN, I did my midwifery, bit of psyche as well. And then I went off to America to work, because I was hoping to go over to live in America. And that was something really very different. Very theoretical, but practical, didn't have what we had. But I did learn a lot. When I came back, actually, after going to university and did my bachelor's in nursing there, I found I couldn't get a job. Everywhere I went for a job, they kept saying, sorry, you're too overqualified. What happened? I was learning so much about quality assurance, managing budget, which are very hot in America. So I came back just wanting a D grade, and I said, fine. And this is where you said, adversity sometimes brings opportunity. So I went home one day and I said, this is just getting nonsense. So I saw this post advertised, 2 posts advertised, one in Kings, one in Roehampton. And they were I grade. I only wanted a G. And I said, right, I'm tired of this. I'm just going to go for the highest post ever. And I'm just going to go in there and do the thing and see what happens. And I did. And I got I grade. And I was so shocked, I couldn't believe it. And I thought, wow, what have I done? And that's when you then have to then look for that mentor, that coach, that somebody who's going to help you along the way. And that was really very good because you had support, but I also had networks of people. And there was only one other Black manager there who became quite supportive, and we worked together. Because when you're there, getting there is one thing, staying there is another. And therefore you have to have strategies, you have to have someone you can lean on, you have to have a network of people that you can go to and talk things through, because that was very difficult. So while we're there, we were amalgamating, and you do know, once you start restructuring, who are the first people who get cut from the structure? It always seems to be the Black and minority ethnic person. So although when you look at my qualifications and what I've done compared to the other person, all sorts of excuses why we couldn't compete for the job because that person needed to be in the post. And I just said, you know something, as Joan said, if you're not wanted, probably go somewhere else. Opportunity knocks. I remember my sister said, one door closed, another door will open. I took the redundancy, closed the whole place down and went home. And I thought, well, let's wait and see what happened. That was being very brave. It was sad because I put a lot in and did open a number of units, did a lot of development. And I was at home one evening when the phone rang, and there it was, someone calling me. I've heard about you. Would you like a job? And I thought, who's this man? Anyway, it turned out I went into another area, and from there, general manager, director maternity services, children's services. So although that was a very bad experience, I didn't let it hold me back. I decided I'm not going to stay down, and you get back into another role. And again, it's adversities again. And the other thing is, when I got into that role, what people need to understand, it's not always about managers that give you a hard time. It's also about the staff and our own staff as well. And sometimes it's how do you manage those sort of conflicts and those adversities that face you? And that was a very good experience. So became executive of nursing, then I moved from that to being, I did to Pan London Maternity Services. And again, we had a lot of problems in terms of managing those roles. Because I can remember one day a very senior person came up to me and says, hang on, do you know how much you're earning? And I stood and looked at the person. And I said, what do you mean? And automatically, without saying it, it's like, you're a Black woman in this post, should you really be there? And we had that face-to-face conversation of what do you mean by this? And why are you saying that? And not very many people are able to have that sort of conversation. And that person kept digging and digging. And one day I thought to myself, I don't care if I really lose this job. And she said something, and I said, can we have a conversation? And we shut the door and had a conversation. And I don't know where I got the strength from to outline to that individual all the things that you were doing, all the things that you were undermining. And as I spoke, the tears just kept rolling down the person's face. And when we finished, she said, I did not even know I was having that effect on you as an individual. So again, it's about sometimes how do we confront adversity? How do you confront some of the issues that you have? Because sometimes it's easier to walk away and go home. But again, you can't do it on your own. So as we talked about is, have you got a coach? Have you got a mentor? Have you got a network of people who can support you? That when you have problems, both at work or out of work, that they can help to talk you through those strategies. Or if not, you'll keep running and not facing the issues that face you. So getting to the positions that I have reached in through my career has not been easy. There are many different things, but it's about the confidence, it's about having people around you that can support and help you. And I think sometimes one of the things I would say to people is, do you know what you want? Sometimes when I'm mentoring and I'm getting I'm not getting this job and whatever, I said, you've been where you have been for very long. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And digging deeper with that person for them to really reflect on their life, reflect where they want, what's their purpose, what their goal is. And sometimes it's getting people to understand. And I've had a number of people that I've spoken to where I've actually told them, leave the job. And they said, what? I said, you need to leave this job. And I've had 2 persons who have left the job I told them to leave because they were going to have a mental breakdown. You have to pick your battles and pick them well, because you're not going to win all the battles. And they would have a nervous breakdown. And I said, you need to leave. You've got to decide, is it the job or your mental health well-being or whatever it is. They left, they regrouped, we mentored, we talked, we support, and they went on to bigger and better things, because they took the experiences which they had with the support to get them into another job. But sometimes we want to go up. I say to people sometimes, don't always expect to go up, go lateral sometime. Sometimes you need to go lateral and gain more experience, get yourself back into the place you want to be in confidence, and then you move up in your career. So at the moment, as I'm working as a non-exec director on a board, and I think that's really very important. And one of the things why it's important, because as I sit on this board, which is, I would say, fairly diverse compared to a number of boards, and you watch the play and you see the strategy that they have, is that if we are not sitting at the table, if we're not at the table to influence, to raise those uncomfortable questions, to hold people to account, then we won't have the changes that we need to have. And I know sometimes a lot of people said, I don't know how you do it, or you've been up there for that length of time. I do it because not very many of us are there, and not very many of us have the stamina to do it. But if we're not there, as Joan is saying, we will not change some of the things that need to be changed. And we need more people to be there at the table. So it's very important that we mentor, we coach, and we help those people to climb the ladder, but also to be honest. So we all face adversity now and then, but some of us find it easier to flourish when things go wrong, and some of us just can't. So learning how to overcome adversity is one way that we stand out. But we need determination. We need to know how to speak up. With determination and motivation, this will help us to create a mindset to deal with and solve some of our issues. The other thing is about taking responsibility. Things go wrong, so we blame everybody else. But sometimes as you reflect, feeling sorry for yourself for a short while is good. But what do you do after that? You need to then say, how am I going to respond to this failure or to the difficulties I have? And therefore, you need to move on to say, right, I need to identify some new goals. Refocus my thoughts, refocus myself, and have a clear vision of where I want to go and how I'm going to actually get there. And I think it's important sometimes we stay in a status quo and we just keep thinking the same way. As I say, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result. So change the way you think. If we remain in a negative frame of mind, then everything becomes negative around us. So we need some time to turn the negatives into positive and try and see how we can say, right, this is negative, but what can I get out of this? I normally say to people, go away sometimes, do a SWOT analysis on the issue or yourself and come back and let us talk. It's amazing when you sit and you do that sometimes. But sometimes we have people who we are asking for help and for advice, and they're the wrong people. We need people who are going to be open and honest, critical friends, not friends because they're just your friends. Your friends never always tell you what the truth is. You need critical friends, you know. So adversity is a great teacher. Time to learn about you. Who are you? How strong you are, how confident you are. A chance for you to succeed when you step back and look at where you want to go. And sometimes people, you know, I used to laugh a lot and I still do. Sometimes you have to get a situation and have a good belly laugh about it. Two things happen. You release Endorphins. Endorphins, that's why I'm looking so young after nearly 35, 38 years in the NHS. Endorphins make you young, you know, and it makes you strong. But sometimes you have to make these things humorous in order for you to proceed. Make peace with the situation, you know, and just bat away the negativity. Adversity can change into opportunity, but sometimes we haven't got the strategy. So we need to build that up. Refuse to give up. Now, my mother, as Joan said, was one of those persons. My mother you could not tell her you can't. If you go home from school and anything, you know, she said, there's not such a word, you can't. You're going to have to find a way, she said, to get around it somehow. And therefore, if we start having that positive attitude, having a purpose, having a goal, then we can overcome. But for me,
Just
really,
5 more minutes, Paulette.
5 more good. For me, I think one of the toolkit is we talked about is in the workplace, and I know it is very difficult, especially speaking to colleagues with COVID and with the situation and the unbiasedness of how people work, because they more favor other people than probably you're not in their likeness. Is get to know your manager. Get to know the team, network, sit with them, have those cups of coffee. They're going to be talking, so speak with them. Team, and a team, you can actually change a team. You can influence people's thinking. But sometimes we're talking to ourselves. We need to be talking to the people, or we need to change how they think and how they see us. That is really very important. So you can't change the ocean or the weather, no matter how hard you try. So it's best to learn how to sail in the conditions which we find ourselves. But you may need help and support and encouragement to sail in all these conditions. But the most important is you. Are you ready for that change? Are you ready for that stormy sea? Do you believe in yourself? Are you willing to listen and learn? And are you willing to invest in yourself? Because no matter what I do as a coach or a mentor, you have to want to be the recipient of that. And if you're in a place that you're not comfortable, let us find those inspirational mentors. We're lots out there. Dawn is there, I'm there. Cheryl, there's lots of people that we've spoken to that we know. We need to link. We need a link. But if we're to have better, we're going to have to do something. When I sit around another table and I bring up the conversation has to be with those people who have the power. Sitting around the table is important. And a lot of us do it consistently, not because we want to, but because we want to make a difference. We need to educate, we need to change the mindset, and we need to make people realize we are good. We are better than many of them, but we have to be around that table and we have to share the talent we have so that it can filter down to those people on the boards and the junior people, so they can see they want to come into this profession and they can be whatever they want to be with our help. Thank you.
Very, very, very inspiring, very powerful insights you shared, Paulette. Thank you very, very much indeed. So there's a comment in there. The person has written in nursing. So this is not just about nurses. Yes, we have 2 former nurses or on the panel today, but we've outlined that they have had senior management experience, director level experience as well. So it's not so much about nursing as it is about your career, regardless of what your role might be. But someone here does say that in nursing, your best friend is your worst enemy. But the thing is, what I wanted to say in response to that is, again, on the back of what Paulette has said. I like that analogy really quite a bit around you can't change the sea, you can't change the waves. You just have to learn to sail safely in them. And so I guess what I could add to that is in the same sea, there are sharks, and you need to learn how to maneuver, how to avoid the sharks, or how to swim with the sharks, how to swim with the dolphins, but also how to swim with the sharks. Okay. So, and again, you know, availing yourself of the opportunities to be mentored, to be coached really would help. again, I can say personally, it has changed my career life. I love Paulette's point around lateral move, because in fact, that's what I did at Band 7 from UCLH. Just looked back at my experience, worked out what I could do, and then made a lateral move to a Band 7 post in Croydon CCG to build up my experience then. In fact, as soon as I landed there, my manager was about to leave to go to NHS England. And because she seemed so open and approachable, I asked her if she would be kind enough to be my mentor. And in fact, just before she left, she agreed to be my mentor. So she enabled me to stand in that whole new role in stakeholder engagement and communications when I had little experience. So, you know, there are people out there who are willing to help. There are people who are willing to help, regardless of race, in fact, because this person was not a BME person. And in fact, we're still in very close contact with each other. She's been nothing but helpful to me and open doors and so on to enhance my experience. So it's possible. But again, it's about many of the things that Joan and Paulette have shared around self-management, self-awareness, networking, befriending your managers, as opposed to taking an antagonistic attitude towards them. Strike up a friendship, build a rapport, get to know them, let them get to know you. We'll come to Paulette's question and answer, but in fact, something that Joan said earlier as well, that I wanted Joan to just clarify, your comment about being oneself. So just recently I was reading about something called code switching, which is a phenomenon that originated with linguistics and language, but now is being used to describe the experiences of Black and minority ethnic people. Code switching, i.e., if you've got an accent like I do, trying to change that accent so you sound American or you sound British, so that it is easier to, so basically it's about conforming your behaviors to the predominant group that you're with. And in fact, a lot of BME staff are saying, not just in the NHS, but these are studies across the board, that they find they can't be themselves within the organizations, and they have to do this thing called code switching a lot. So there are some pros and cons to that. My immediate response is that, well, you do have to change your behaviors depending on the situation you're in. If you're out hanging out with your friends, you can behave one way, but you can't behave that same way if you're sitting in a meeting with your colleagues. So Joan, I want you to clarify that point around being yourself, because I think sometimes the lines get blurred. People want to behave the way they would behave with family members or friends, and they carry those same behaviors into a professional environment, which then puts other people off and already puts them in a box. And actually, once they put you in that box, it's really hard to come back from there. And it's actually sometimes just a little cultural thing, or a little, maybe you're too loud, or something that just puts people off straight away. And really, once they put you there, you can't come out of it. So Joan, just to clarify that point about being yourself.
I think it's even more important now because of Black Lives Matter. It's all thrown everything wide open. I've noticed there's more of our Black people having natural hair, just being themselves, wearing African prints. Like I was on a platform the other day where a Pakistani lady said she was never able to wear her sari to work. Whereas another one said for the first time ever, she wore her sari and she felt really, really liberated. I think we just need to just be who we are. You know, at home, you behave a certain way. Even as a child, when you're with your friends, you talk a certain way, and you come home and you try to talk to your mother the way you talk to your friend. She asks you, do you think I'm your size and shape? I'm like your friend and size. So if you're professional people, when you're at work, you operate in a professional manner. And I remember years ago when I was at the Department of Health, Diane Abbott, the MP, came to do a talk at the CNO's summit, and she was talking, and then she started talking in patois. I was the only BME person in the audience. They were all the people from the Department of Health, and she started speaking in patois. And the next day, my line manager said to me, "Did you hear the way she spoke?" I goes, "No, it's called patois." He goes, "Can you?" I said, "I could do that." He goes, "Well, why don't you do that all the time?" I goes, "Would you actually have me here working every day if I was to speak in patois to you?" So we know it. It's inbuilt in us. We know what the right way to behave is. It's not about assimilating and becoming like everybody else. be yourself. But as my manager used to say to me, look at everybody else in the room. Are they flaying their helms around and shouting at the top of their voice? No, they're not. When you go into a board meeting, everybody's they just take everything down. Everything's down. Just bring it down a notch or two and have the empathy, that, what's it called, emotional intelligence, to know how to behave when you're in the company of other people. Like if you're with the Queen, you behave differently to if you were with your friend and neighbours. When you're with the Prime Minister, you behave completely differently. So we know that it's built into us. But just be who you are. You're not being fake. You're just modifying your behavior, not changing who you are completely. Now, I wouldn't change my accent because this is my accent. I mean, I can speak patois and I can speak a bit of Irish. I think it's Irish and Scottish mixed together. I don't know. But I can speak Cockney as well, mate, if you want me to talk like that. But, you know, I can talk in patois as well. But just be who we are. Just be who you are. It's easier. I can't be anybody else but who I am.
Yeah, but I think that's an important point. But I think one of the things is as well is know your audience, know where you are, and it's about how do we adjust ourselves flexibly to match the situation. Because I think it's very important that we need to be mixing with a number of different people, and if we keep talking to ourselves, then the message won't go far and wide. So it's how do we engage and should we engage with a wide variety of people to understand
That's a
us.
really fantastic point, I think.
And I think
we're championing diversity all the time, but how diverse are we in terms of our network?
I mean, that's a point I really want to make, because I mean, I do a lot of voluntary mentoring or whatever you want to, and I try to say, for example, you know, I think for us to change the culture and behavior, we have to integrate much more. We have to infiltrate those areas, because even with what we do, we need how many white or whatever people are sitting in what we're talking about here today?
There are a number.
There are a number, but we need more. We need to somehow have more joint up things that we can actually share and talk about these experiences trying to do.
Yes.
Not that it's going to change us who we are, because we know who we are. And as Joan pointed out before, I have had a lot of support from people of not West Indian, Caribbean or whatever, but it gave me the opportunity to actually, when working with them and doing the reverse mentoring, is actually showing up who we really are and just how good we are, so they understand us more. And there has to be more about that sharing, because sometimes we don't share very much. It's like, was an issue I dealt with, and I said, how do you think people feel? Well, we don't sit with them. We just go to a different place. Say, how are you going to know? It's like you're fighting a battle. You have to be in there to know the strategies. You know, just shutting yourself off and being just with whoever you want to. Sometimes you have to, and I know as I climb the ladder into all the different areas I've been, it's been many different groups of people I've had to encounter. But I have learned from them, and they have also learned from me. Because sometimes people don't get to know who we really are. It's a stereotype. And then when they sit and they talk with you, they say, oh, I didn't, because we need to get inside of those little cocoons and do something about it. But I just thought it's really important. And I think, you know, working.
So we hear about interpersonal skills all the time, especially if you're coming from a clinical background. Or nursing. Interpersonal skills was an entire module on my nursing training. Interpersonal skills is not just about the patient, it's about your colleagues as well. It's about the people you work with, the people you rub up against every single day. Your skills, interpersonal skills, are really critical. You can't function in an environment in isolation. You have to build bridges, you have to build rapport. And so we need to definitely do that. Do we have any specific questions, further questions for Paulette? There are some other questions that I would like to throw out to the group as well, so that we can hear more from you. Because remember at the start of the introduction, and Loxley also said it, this is about you. This is about your opportunity as well to share your experiences, to ask questions, to comment, even to share ideas yourself. to help your colleagues as well. And it's good to see that we've got some non-BME, non-Black, Asian, minority ethnic people in the audience, and we warmly welcome you, and thank you very much for joining in to this Black History Month event. We want you to continue to join in to the other events as well, because as Paulette was just saying, it's about getting to know each other, getting to hear each other's viewpoints, and that then breeds understanding and a kind of mutual sensitivity to each other's needs. That's the power of learning about other people and hearing their points of view. So we welcome you here, and we want to encourage you as well to ask questions or to make comments. So this is for you. It's Unison sponsored. They have invested heavily in this so that you can get everything you can. Don't be shy. That's the other thing. I used to work with a prof who made that observation that the issue was that he felt that minority people were not very forthcoming. And by that, he meant not speaking up, not willing to join a conversation. So that taught me a lot. So since then, definitely, if anything, they need to shut me up. But, you've seen Paulette, you've seen Joan, see how accessible they are. Ask something. If you feel too shy to speak it out loud, put it in the chat. So we want to hear from you as well. We've got another 45 minutes before the end of this session. Take advantage of these two amazing, amazing women. Yes, Loxley.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether this is a question or maybe just an observation. We'll see how it goes. But, I've heard a lot today from both speakers about relationships with managers, right? It seems like the managers have been quite integral in your development and you going forward. Now, most of the work that I do with Unison, the majority of it has been with people who have real issues with their managers, right? And probably to a degree where it's beyond repair. Now, am I right in hearing that we should really try and nurture that management relationship, that relationship with that manager?
Well, it would be helpful. Oh, sorry, go on.
So shall we have Paulette and then Joan? Yeah.
I think sometimes it's getting to understand the relationship between manager and staff. And sometimes if you get it from the staff and not from the manager, you're getting two different stories. It's how do you bridge that? And I think that is really important. I think staff do have a problem with understanding their managers and what they want, because sometimes there are unconscious biases which exist. And it only comes out in different ways and when different things happen. But sometimes I've had people come to me that tell me what's going on and then you tease it out. Well, the manager has got a real issue, and yes, there's something there, but it's the way it's being dealt with that comes over in a much more negative way. And then sometimes when I speak to the individual and say, why? You find out that yes, there's an issue, but it's how it's being dealt with the manager. So there's something about understanding both from the manager's perspective and the staff perspective, and if you can get them together to iron that out. And I think the other problem is that some of our managers are not cultural sensitive in some of the way people speak, their body language and stuff like that. It's taken in a negative. And I think that's where sometimes you get this barrier of wanting to have that discussion. So I think it's really a two-way thing, and this is why it is really important for the engagement of the other colleagues, the white managers and everybody. Sometimes when we talk and in silos, we're not addressing all the issues. They have to be around the table with us to have those conversations, because sometimes we misinterpret them as much as they misinterpret us. And I've dealt with both groups of staff in all my time, and there sometimes is a barrier to culture, to language, to behavior. But yes, we do have issue about being fair and equal and diversity issue. It's still there. But how do we break it down? We're not going to break it down if we continue working in silos. The only way we're going to break that down is by coming together, really addressing the issues with them. And I've done it before, and then you say, this is what she meant, this is where she's from. She doesn't have to change to be like you, but you need to listen. You know, so if I'm not like you and I speak differently, it doesn't mean that you would want to engage with me. But there's much, for me, it's more about how do we come together to resolve some of the issues. If we continue having silos, I think Black History Month should be one where it has to encourage more people to sit around the table like what we're talking today to hear. Because we're talking to ourselves. So we finish Black History Month, we go away, we've talked all of these things, but the people who needs to be sitting around the table are not there. They need to be there, they need to hear, and they need to participate and learn. And if we can work and learn together, we'll have a better society and a better way of treating our staff. But it doesn't happen.
Thank you. Joan, did you want to come in?
I think sometimes we need to look at our own behaviours. Sometimes we're always projecting negativity onto our managers. So if we've come in with the attitude, my manager doesn't like me, she's always picking on me, you've come in with that, you're so in that defensive mode, ready to fight. So anything they say to us, we twist it up and take it the wrong way round, and it leads us in the wrong direction. So quite rightly, as Paulette said, if anybody knows me, I'm a very upfront person. I was told the other day, Joan, you need to stop going for the juggler all the time, because I just get to the heart of the matter. But everybody's different. I remember I was going for a head of nursing role, and I was told I was being coached by a senior person who knew my line manager and knew me. And she said to me, we know you've got the skills to do the job, there's no problem with it, but the director, she cannot stand you. She told me, she can't stand you because your attitude, your behavior. And what it was, because I'm up front, I go around hugging everybody, talking to everybody. She couldn't cope with that because she was a severely introverted person and she was very insecure. So to her, I came across as being really arrogant and over the top. So when you're talking about that modifying behavior thing, I didn't realize that's the way I came across to her, because everybody's different. It's all about emotional intelligence. So what I did, and I didn't want to do it, but my coach suggested that I did it. And I did it. I just wrote a letter to the senior manager and apologized to her. I said, I presume I must have upset you in some way because we don't seem to be getting on. Please forgive me and help me. I want to help you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you to fulfill your role. What can I do to support you? I wrote that email. I didn't really want to write it because I didn't know what I was apologizing for, but the person told me that I should do it, so I just did it. Within less than 5 minutes, this person responded to my email, thanking me profusely for my email, and can we have a tea and a chat? And then our relationship changed completely from that day. She never brought it up again or anything at all. But when we met, it's just like something had gone and something had removed. So sometimes we just have to look at ourselves and think, maybe it's me. Maybe it's the way I'm reacting to things that people are saying rather than responding. So it's having that emotional intelligence. At the same time, I do know there's some very challenging and difficult managers because I've dealt with them as well. But those ones, I deal with them by killing them with kindness, that they just don't know what to do with themselves. They get confused. Because every time they're being horrible, I buy them cards, I buy them chocolate. Jane, was that you that put those chocolates on my desk? I said, yes. Did you notice there were 2 chocolates, not 1? And I do that. So they get in the end, they just melt and they just think, oh, she's not that bad, really. They've got these ideas.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much, Joan. So that might bring us nicely on to the point that we discussed about the question around bullying. So, and the point that Paulette mentioned around performance management versus bullying. So the question I want to ask the group tonight is, have you experienced bullying? What is your organizational culture like around bullying? Since we're talking about managers, it could be bullying by managers or bullying by fellow colleagues as well. And Joan and Paulette will be able to answer questions you have and in fact give you some strategies for managing it. So has anybody got any issues around bullying or concerns around bullying that you want to raise? Ooh, dead silence. Is everybody still there with us?
They're still there. But sometimes people don't even recognize they're being bullied. And because it is subsidious in its way, our managers do it sometimes. And it's subtle. It's a subtle way of putting people down. And people don't see it. People think bullying is someone coming up and just don't. No, it isn't. It's just the refusal of little thing, the way you're spoken to. It can be quite silent in its way. And covered, and sometimes people are not aware until very late when they start really not functioning properly, doing things at work. And then when you speak to them, you realize this person really, has been bordering on being bullied or undermined in certain ways. So not everybody wants to. And the other thing is some people are afraid to own up that they're being bullied. It's like domestic violence. Some people won't own up that it's actually happening to them. And therefore, this is where it comes in about who's your buddy, who's your coach, who do you have to speak to with? And I think everyone, especially with what we're going through, should be able to have someone they could pick up a phone. I have people that, I ring them or they ring me. So how are things? What's going on? Let's talk. Yes. And it might be that we have some little groups. Let's talk. Because when you talk with people and they might not just want to ring you for the strategy, just listening, they go away and then they'll be able to say, right, this is what I heard, this is what I probably need to do. But it's a difficult one.
Yes. Joan, do you want to add anything around the issue of bullying or bullying versus performance management?
I'll just say, I know I'm on the Unison platform, but the RCN has an inclusion solution cafe on their website. Talks about inclusion and instability in the workplace.
Can someone switch off their mute, please, because we're hearing feedback. Carry on, Joan.
Of the instability in the workplace, understanding it and being able to know what it is.
Someone needs to mute their mic, otherwise I'll have to mute everyone. I'm just trying to find that. Joan, carry on.
I've just muted them, I think. Yeah, the incivility in the workplace, as Paulette said, it's very insidious, like microaggressions and micro assaults. And sometimes we sort of think, did they just say what I thought they said, or did they mean what I thought they meant? And that's where having that coach or mentor is really, really key. So I would go to my coach and say, my manager said this, this, and this to me. I'm not sure that what does she mean by that? And they'll be able to break it down. And sometimes you just say to the person, what exactly did you mean by that comment? Well, one of the things, Lynette calls it the science of avoidance, where they just block you and ignore you and sort of gaslight you, shut you down whenever you're saying anything, or you say something and it's as if you never spoke, and then they go on to somebody else that is speaking and listen to them. Or somebody's got their hand up, and Fiona Hardy wanted to say something as well.
Fiona?
Yeah, my name's Susie.
Susie?
I just wanted to ask you a question. So I wanted to thank you so much for what you shared, because I could really relate to it. My question is more around the fact that even though you feel that you are being bullied or harassed, how do you feel confident enough to be able to share that and feel safe enough while it's still being investigated? Because you still have to work in the environment if you raise it. If it's against your manager, you still need to work with your manager. How do you cope with that? Because it is hard, it is very subtle. Bullying is very subtle.
Yes. Have you got a coach? Have you got a mentor? Have you got someone outside of the organization?
This is the point. My job is so busy. I haven't got the time to explore the opportunity for that.
What's your name, darling? What's your name?
Fiona.
Fiona.
No, Susie.
Oh,
Susie.
Susie.
Yes.
Sorry,
Susie, what is one of the most important thing is, and as I speak to what you have to have, especially you need to have someone who is a mentor or a coach or someone that has the knowledge to help you. You cannot do it on your own in this situation. You need to have someone that you can talk these things through with, because if you're going to go through that and you're going to work and you say, I've got time, the most important person is you. And if you have not got time to address the issues that are affecting you, you are mentally and physically and everything won't be able to cope with what's happening around you. So I think it's really very important that you find someone, it could be even 5 minutes to go home, to pick up the phone and to talk through what's happening and to get some advice and got some help. You're battling all of that, in your head or wherever, and you just won't cope with it on your own. You need some help, and especially if you're going through all of that process and you've got a mentor, a coach or something, you do need some help. these things are not easy to deal with on your own. And I'm sure Joan will tell you, it's not easy, you know, and I've spoken to people who, you know, I've had to advise them on a whole lot of different range of steps they've taken to resolve certain problems. But you have to get someone who can help you to take those steps to make sure your well-being and your mental health is one of the most important things. It doesn't matter what else is going on. Your health and your well-being and being looked after is important. So, you know, it's something we can talk about after, but you really do need to get someone to help you to work through that.
Absolutely. Joan, do you want to add anything there?
As you know, I belong to the
Okay.
Royal
I think it's a good opportunity then, Loxley, to advertise the
Sorry,
coaching
somebody
services.
called Fiona. Fiona
Yes, so
Hardy.
I'll come back to Fiona.
Okay.
Loxley, we were talking about the coaching services that are available for staff. We wanted to advertise and raise awareness around coaching internally.
Yeah, thank you. UCLH have put a lot of money into coaching. So they put a lot of money into developing coaches at the moment. And from my understanding, at least what I've last heard, they were having problems actually getting people to coach. People weren't coming forward. I'm not sure it's advertised as well as it should be, or it could be, but there are many, many coaches out there waiting or available for people.
And how do people access them?
I will get the information up to people. The person who heads that department is called Marita Brown. She heads up that particular department. She's the head of the coaching. But I will get some information. I will
share that, yes. And I suppose you could add Joan and Paulette to your list as well going out.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And do you have a mentorship program at all running at UCLH or not?
I'm kind of more familiar with the coaching, because mentoring is a completely different.
Okay, because some organizations do have a kind of a mentorship scheme. Okay, fair enough. So in terms of Fiona, you said that you have a question. You've wrote that in the chat. Now's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My question was, so a couple of things really, kind of listening to the things that I work at UCLH. And yes, there are coaching and mentoring, of which I've been interested in the last couple of years and kind of put that forward as one of my objectives, but then haven't got very far with it because I don't feel I'm actually supported to do it. So although it's agreed, but when it comes to doing it, I just feel the workload then stops me from doing that. And it's how I kind of had that. For me, that's a difficult conversation to have with my line manager. And it's how I broach that so that I can do what I feel I want to do to support colleagues within the organisation.
So Joan or Paulette, who wants to go first? I think it goes back to Paulette's view, you know, it's about your putting yourself, making yourself and your well-being, both mentally, physically, but also professionally and in terms of your career, a priority. You need to prioritize yourself. Nobody else is going to prioritize you. True. Many times in my own appraisals, yes, leadership course, get in touch with, this one, that one. Your manager's not going to do it for you. It's on you to then go and find out the information, come back to them to say, this is it, and this is the date I'm starting, blah, blah, blah. And then they just say, fine, get on with it. So you have to take ownership. You, Susie as well, I think was the other lady's name. Don't say that you haven't got time. Otherwise, it just never will happen for you. You will just continue doing all the work that you're doing, plus more besides, and then you'll find yourself it's retirement day, if you even live long enough for that, right? You need to prioritize your career first. You're in a job not to stay there forever and just keep working. You're in a job actually to develop your skills base. You're in the job you're in to develop your network. All of that to prepare you to then apply for a senior role, whether it's within your organization or elsewhere. That's the purpose of your being in the job that you're in. That's the thing. So that's the first priority that you should have always, really. And do it on a Saturday then. Do it on a Sunday then. Go online and find out where there's coaching available, or go on your UCLH website and find out how to access the coach. But you have to actually do that yourself.
Do they have appraisal? I was just going to ask, if you've got an appraisal, and I saw someone was saying that they have something happening there. I think one of the things, and it's easily done, and because of how we are as a group of people sometimes about the job. We tend to do it, other people don't. You are number one, and you're going to have to put in your diary. And I've said this to people before. When am I taking some time out about me? Without you, you have to look at yourself as being that important person. You cannot deliver and be you if you're not going to invest in yourself. So I think one of the things you need to do is, and that's something we can talk about, but you actually have to say, I need this time for me. It's like if you're home and you don't have time for your husband and your children, whatever, it will fall to pieces because we're too busy in the kitchen and doing stuff. It's the same at work. You're going to say, what is it I need to move forward? How long have I been here? And having those conversations and really look at your diary, because at the end of the day, you can keep doing what you're doing until it drops. No one's going to matter. You're going to have to say, I'm putting myself in charge. So if you really need to do that, then it's something that needs to happen and talk to. But I just saw someone said they've got some online. There's something happening in your trust about it. So
yeah. So I'll read out that detail. But
can I just say something?
Yes, sorry. Go ahead, Joan. Yes.
Somebody that I was coaching recently, she told me what she wanted to do. She told me that her appraisal was coming up. I said, when you have your appraisal with your manager, tell them this is what your professional goals are. This is what you'd like to do. Get all the information and ask them to approve it. When I saw her again last week or earlier on this week, she was ecstatic because it worked. She wanted to do the Prince 2 program, and she kept saying, my manager won't let me go because it's too expensive and they won't have time. And she's making all the excuses. I said, just get the information and bring it with you and explain it to your manager. She was overwhelmed. Her manager said, of course I will support you to do this program. Yes, we have the funding for it. And she's about to start the program next month. So be proactive about your future and tell your managers what you want to do and give them the information. You can't just wait for them to come to you.
Yeah.
And I mean, what strikes me in watching that story, Joan, again, you know, there's so many myths that either people create or they hear somebody else say it, but it's a myth. So she started by saying, my manager isn't going to support me or won't support me. And then it turns out that the manager said, yeah, go for it. You know, so where did that first view come from that you haven't even tested with the manager and just assumed you will never get on this course, so you don't even try, right? So just check yourself. So it's about, as Paulette and Joan are saying, that's self-awareness. But they're referring to it as emotional intelligence. But you start with a self-awareness. It's like, well, where did I get that idea from that my manager is not going to support my development? And if that's the case, actually, you still need to talk to your manager to say, this is what I want to do with my career. And then you find out that actually maybe it was a misunderstanding or it was misinterpreted or it was somebody else's experience for a set of reasons that you don't even know about that don't relate to you, right?
And then what you do, you preempt it as well. Go and get the study leave policy and find out all the information in the study leave policy. Get in contact with the Learning and Development Department. Find out if there's funding. I think the government gave £1,000 to every single nurse anyway for CPD and stuff. Get all the information so you arm yourself with the information, present it to your manager as a done deal. So all they need to do is run on the line.
Love it. Absolutely. Get the information yourself. Your manager's not going to go and find it for you. So there's an email link in the chat, uclh.inquiry.coaching@nhs.net. So again, Loxley will probably add that to the email that we send out for this. So that's how you access the email and mentoring service at UCLH. Guys, there is an email address that you can write to. And I think the other flexible thing you need to be willing to do is, because it's another thing that I often hear is, well, I won't get released for the time. Well, sometimes every time I've been coached, outside of my organization anyway, I had to travel after work at 5 p.m. all the way to Tooting, and I live in North London, to get my coaching, which I paid for myself. And I did it on the weekend if I needed to as well. So you got to be willing to sacrifice your own time to invest. So it's a sacrifice, but it's an investment in yourself to go and get the coaching from the right coach. And you need to be willing. Sometimes come in early in the morning if you need to do an online search. You might have to go to work for 9, get in there for 8 o'clock, 7:30 or something, and use that hour and a half time to do the research you need to do for your professional development, or stay in the evening, give yourself an extra half an hour in the evening after work, extra hour after work to do it. That's how I did it. Okay. Yeah. So if there are any other points around, any other further questions around bullying and that, coaching, career development, professional development, that people want to raise, or something else that we haven't touched on as yet?
They've all gone quiet.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Coaching, promotion, education.
So we were promoting coaching.
Any questions? All you have to do is write it in the chat if you don't
in the chat.
In the chat, you know, because and how long have you been in the organization? What have you achieved in that organization? Why are you still in that organization? Do you want to go lateral? You know, some people stay. I've had people stay there, and then when things have happened, and then I say to them, so why are you here? I've had two persons who have left that organization and have just blossomed. You can't believe they're the same people anymore. They've gone into new organization, new thinking. You know, it's like sometimes you go into your wardrobe sometime and you decide it's packed up of all these things that you don't want. Clear it out and start again. And then you start looking fresh and bright. So sometimes, I know for reasons people are more comfortable where they are. It could be distance, it could be whatever. But sometimes one needs to go back, step back, and do a reflection of yourself.
And as I said, my motto,
on yourself.
My motto is go where you're celebrated, do not stay where you're tolerated. Anytime you're denigrated, you will never be appreciated. So you're in charge of your own destiny, your own future, your own life. Do not put it in the hands of anybody else.
Yeah.
Be who you are and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, you've got so much to offer, you know, for yourselves as well. And sometimes I think sometimes people are not confident about making those moves, you know.
They say, better the devil you know than the devil you don't, but you don't have to be the devil.
That's exactly it. The devil you know, but rather than the devil you don't know. But from my perspective, again, you know, I was at UCLH 9.5 years as a band. I was a band 6 and then I went to band 7, and I was a band 7 for about 6 years or something. But having left and moved on, by the 7th year after that, I was at band 8C. So, you know, you've got to be willing to move. And I could understand that sometimes you can't, you think, well, this is the best job because you're raising a family, it's proximity and all that stuff. And Joan made the point earlier about the things that you can't change, then you need to change your attitude. Then if nothing else can change in terms of, well, I have to work here because my kid's school is around the corner, or it's just easier to manage my family situation if I stay here as opposed to go to Kingston or go to Croydon or go to Northeast London or something, then it's your attitude that needs changing. The thing is, the power's in your hands, either to change the environment you're in by moving, or change yourself if you have to stay where you are. Yeah.
And sometimes I think as well, because we haven't got the courage and we probably need people to help us, is having that conversation with your managers and people, because sometimes their assumption of you and what you're wanting to do is totally different from your thoughts. And then when you speak to them, they say, but we've never had that conversation. I didn't know she wanted that. I didn't know what to do with this. So sometimes having that I can remember when I was quite a senior person, actually, before I was a director, and my director was being really funny. And one day I thought, right, I need to speak to her. And I knocked the door and I thought, what the heck can I do? And I went in and she said, and I stood there and I said, I really need to talk to you. There's certain things I need to tell you because I'm not really very happy. And she turned around, she was astonished. And then she said, sit down. And I went through so much. And she said, to tell the truth, I did not even realize. Because sometimes we take it for granted that they understand and they know. Don't. Sometimes you have to build that courage to have that conversation, or get someone to help you to have that conversation. And after that, things changed because I was able to articulate, because people kept saying, you're not going to do it. I said, no. I said, this is it. I really have to do it now because I just needed to do that. And sometimes you need that encouragement, or you need someone to help you to lay out what you're going to say and how you're going to approach it. Because sometimes you might not want to move, and there are opportunities there for you, but you need someone to open that door for you and help you to open the door. And how can we do that for you? Because I do know some people where you live and your children and your family, it's convenient, but there are opportunities going that you're not grasping or you're not open to you. So we need to help you. How do you do that?
Yeah, and that's a great point, actually, because again, if you're in a situation similar to that, where you are, you're there because of some other reason, quite legitimately, you need to stay in that particular organization, then it's about taking that long-term view of yourself in that organization and making sure that you're managing the relationships around you, and being politically aware, so that you don't even end up in a situation where you have sabotaged yourself or been sabotaged, so that now you're looking at a long stretch waiting for your kid to be old enough to graduate from university while you're working there, but actually it's a long torturous jail sentence for you because you got to stay there, but actually it's like sharks everywhere and they're always attacking you. So just be mindful of, if you are going to stay put, to really the onus is on you to keep your relationships healthy and helpful to you and to your comfort and your nurturing and blossoming in that area, in there, so that as well as if you want to apply for something more senior, as Paulette was saying, the doors won't be shut for you. Your reputation is really key. Your reputation is really important wherever you are.
And that's the key one, the reputation.
Yeah.
So I make a point wherever I am, I get to know who the chief exec is, who the chief nurse or the director is, and all the senior people. And I would even go as far as shadowing them. Can I shadow you for the day or half a day? Or can I just spend half an hour with you just to explain to you what my vision is in my service that I'm running? Just something like that, then they will always remember you. Because actually, there's another thing about being a Black person. I always say I'm outstanding because I stand out. I stand out because I'm outstanding. Whichever way you will look at it, if we're the only darkie in the village, so to speak, they're going to always be seeing you. So you might as well let them see you in a good light. So let them get to know who you are. And so when something comes up, they go, oh yes, Fiona, she's the one that works in IT. I need somebody that could do that. Maybe I need to go and speak to her. Or they would mention your name to somebody else. So they need to know who you are. So showcase who you are. So every opportunity I had, I made sure that they knew what I was doing when I was doing it, what my plans were and everything. And I would suggest things to them as well, and suggest it in the way that they would want to implement it as if it was their idea. It makes them feel better, but I feel good because they've done what I wanted them to do. That's about managing your manager.
And I think the other thing is to remember, not everybody wants to be chief nurse or what. People want to enjoy their work they're doing and they want to be at a certain level. So how do you help them to manage that? You see what I'm saying? And I think that is also very important. That there's a stable workforce who lives around the corner, who was quite happy. If you're happy being in that role, what else can we do to enhance that and to make sure you're getting everything you want from the role that you're in? But if you're not and you want help to move forward, then you have to find that right person to help you along the way and how you move from one level. And I found as well, going lateral. When I came back from America, I couldn't get a job, as I told you, because I went for so many jobs at the band D, and then I kept saying, why won't this? I left the band D, and I come back and went to university, and they won't give it to me. Part of it, after that, I realized when I spoke to someone, they were afraid. I came back with so much knowledge and understanding. It was a different person, and some people were a bit afraid when you come back thinking, "What, you might take my job?" But you don't give up. I didn't give up. I just kept going. But it's how we help each person. But if you want to be where you are, make sure you're the best. My mom said, be the best of whatever you're doing. So if you don't want any promotion and you want to stay beside the bed, then be the best person beside that bed. If you're going to move up the ladder, be the best at what you want to do. But you have to want to give something as well to make it happen. Because sometimes people want these things to happen, and then they'll turn and say, what? You have to do all of that, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. Yeah, But that's the job, and that's how it is. So when you see people sometimes in some of these roles, which when people shadow you, they say, oh my goodness, is that what it really entails? So sometimes people don't really understand what some of these roles entail. And the hours you've got to put in, the reports you've got to do, the meetings. So how do we get shadowing and explain what these roles are so people can understand as well? Because I think sometimes people don't, and then they get into the role and they fail because they're probably not prepared. And, you know, so we need to help our colleagues as they move up the ladder to understand the roles they're hoping to move into.
So one of my mottos is for good, better, best, never let it rest until your good be better and your better best. So be the best you that you can be.
And whatever.
And if at first you don't succeed, try and try and try again.
You said that at school in the line. I don't know what you said from the West Indies, but when you line up to go into the class, you had all these little motto you had to say, those are them, you know.
So what I'd like to hear from the audience now is, are there any positive things, any strengths that you recognize within your organization, anything that works well to support you within your organization? So that's one thing. The other thing then is, what else within your organization do you think can improve to increase the support given to staff? Now, bearing in mind, we've got 10 minutes left. I'll need the last 2 or 3 minutes to do a quick roundup, and also to signpost you to the events that are also coming up for the rest of the month as well. So if anybody wants to, having listened to Joan and Paulette and feel braver than you did at the start of this event, please, now's your time to say what's worked well for you as an employee at UCLH. What resources are there to support you, if any? Okay, so maybe I'll get a response if I said what doesn't work well for you at UCLH.
The thing is that this, Michelle, this is actually another example of when we give opportunity to people. I've always, if you're in the room with somebody of great influence, make sure you have 1, 2, or 3 questions to ask them. It's like they've got an open platform. I remember Ruth May, the chief nurse, came along to one of our meetings and they opened the floor for questions. And not one person had a question. I went up and said, I cannot believe it. You haven't got one question to ask the chief nursing officer. And then suddenly they all opened up and started asking questions. And the time had run out by then. So please, we're here, ask a question. Anything, we can answer it. If I can't answer it, Paulette will. And if Paulette can't, Michelle will. Put it in the chat if you're too shy to actually even answer it.
Yes, Loxley.
I'll go. Look, guys, we have a big BAME network now, right? In this well developed, we now have the Black Members, UNISON Black Members Network. We have PDP funding, right? This isn't well publicized, but we have PDP funding for every member of staff, right? And I went, because it isn't well publicized, so I went to the department and asked them why they didn't publicize it. And they said, well, if they publicize it, everyone would want it. And they don't want it. This was a kind of personal conversation, but it's there, it's available, and there's £1,000 to do it. I did mine, I did my Prince project management with it, I got it. It's there for you. So we do have, we have a lot of issues in UCLH, I think, as we have in any organization, but there are positives, but you have to go looking for it and you have to be proactive.
Yeah.
Well said, Loxley.
Actually, I think one of the things for me when I mentor and I speak to people is about getting people to be proactive and thinking about where the next step is. Sometimes it's really getting people to want to move forward. And you don't have to want to go straight to the top. It's actually being proactive in some of the things. And it's how do we encourage that, because that's really important. And I know sometimes people, because of where they're sitting in the organization or the pushbacks which they've had, has made them feel timid. But I can assure you, people like myself and Joan and Michelle, you know, I've seen people that I've spoken to and they're flying now. They just need someone to help them to make those, you know, like when a baby's walking, and so they have to hold their hands to take those first little steps so they become stronger.
I think it's all frozen up there.
Yeah, you might not need someone for a year. You might need someone for the first 3 months, 6 months, just to get you up and get you started and get you going. But it's amazing what you can do with a little bit of help. little bit of help.
Yeah.
And we're here to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. 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 Awesome. Awesome. I wonder if I should pick on poor Josephine because I can see her video. And you've got a big smile as well, Josephine. So come on, tell us something. Take you're on mute. You're on mute, my dear. Just unmute yourself.
We probably can't. She's
Do you know how
talking,
to
but
unmute yourself? Oh, let me see if I can do it for you actually.
Unmute.
Okay, she's on mute.
yes. Uh-huh.
Whoops, she's muted again.
Yeah, carry on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Josephine. I'm pleased to join in, even though it's late. I've only got like a few more minutes I need to hand over. But this is a very good platform, and I am so happy that I'm joining in to discuss what is happening among us. Like Floxy just said, the problem we have, I don't know who was the last speaker talking about maybe people feel timid because of their past experience, because you keep going forward, trying to actually strive hard to get to the top, and all you're meeting is obstacles all the time. People don't actually recognize your worth, and that actually just it just make you feel that you're worthless. And when a position comes up for us to go, I have tried so many times, which has really made me now feel, I think maybe I should just stay where I am, which I'm not actually happy with. It's just because that backup is not there. The support is not there for us to move forward. If a position comes up in the trust here within the women's health where I work, there's someone who is already earmarked for that job. It doesn't matter how much you try. You're just like a number to actually make up for the ethnic background that you filled in an application. At least we got someone from ethnic minorities. So I think there's still a long way to go. I don't know how we can actually deal with this, but I'll be really happy to have someone who can actually give that support to say, to allow us to actually progress.
Mm. So
It's a lot.
What kind are you?
I am a 7, and I've been a 7 for 9 years, and I've watched people, midwives that I actually orientated onto the unit as a band 5 and 6 are now band 8B just because of who they are. And they're 8C and 8Bs. So, which is really demoralizing because half of the work that they're doing, which they can't do, I have to still fill in that shoes and do the work. It's like we're doing the job and they're being paid this band just because of who they are. And I think that is really not right.
Have you applied for any of those roles? You've applied for the role?
Yes, in the past.
When was the last?
And I can just tell you, one of my colleagues actually applied for a job last week, but the person that got the job has actually told us already that she was getting it because she was the interim, but she was leaving. But because they wanted to keep her, they just pulled that job out on a short notice for a period of, I've never had where a band 8B job is being advertised just for a week and is internal. It didn't go external. So it was just a week on the intranet, and the interview date was set on the last working day of this person who was leaving, just because they wanted her to be able to attend the interview because they knew she was getting the job anyway. So one of our colleagues that went, it was just like being counted in numbers of applicants. It's really a shame.
It is a shame,
Yes,
and it's not sadly, it's not an uncommon story, to be honest with you. But again, I know you came late to the session, but it goes back to the principles that Joan and Paulette and myself have shared all along. A range of things. So it might well be that one has to consider applying outside of the organization at this stage.
Yeah.
And granted, if you've been there a long time, I could understand that, the familiarity does actually reduce our confidence to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that's where we have emphasized again and again, you can't do it on your own. And there is support to enable you to build up that confidence, to apply elsewhere, and to get to
Okay.
land the dream job, as it were.
Okay.
It's my story. It is honestly my story. Okay, that's exactly how it was. What I just described to you, just getting
Okay.
the help that I needed to actually really move forward and progress my career. Okay, it's
Okay.
possible. It is possible. Joan and Paulette are where they are. It's because it's possible, and they were in the game certainly longer than I was. You know, I qualified in 91. I came to the UK in 90. Sorry, I came to the UK in 91. They were here longer than I have, where things were even harder then. You know what I mean? And they managed to climb the ranks. So they have got the experience and skills. So I'm conscious
Can I
of
just
time.
can I just say
Conscious,
one
just
thing?
before you do, I'm just conscious of time. It's 1 minute to 8, which is when the session ends. And
Yeah.
I don't want to, we were asking people to speak for so long and nobody did. So this is why I gave Josephine this space. It does mean that we're going to go till 8:05, however, and I hope everybody's okay with that.
Thank
If you
you.
can't stay beyond 8 o'clock to 8:05, then we wish you good luck and good night. You will get some kind of email communications from Loxley going forward as well, with the other events coming up as well. So we are definitely finishing at 5 minutes. So Joan, you've got 1 minute to say what you want to say. Paulette, you got 1 minute, and then I'll take feedback.
Okay, just to say to Josephine, have you gone to your manager and sat down and asked her, what is the issue? Is there anything that you need to do to help you to progress? Have you ever done that?
I think up to now we've just set up a BAME.
No, that wasn't the question. No, stop. I asked you the question. Have you asked your manager? Have you sat with your manager?
Yes, it's not just me. We have all the people, all of us involved. We have asked, and it's just.
And what is the response?
They give you a feedback, or sometimes you don't even get a feedback after the interview, and sometimes you will get a feedback which is very scanty, not a formal thing to say, not a very constructive one to say this is where you went wrong, or
So
this is what you could have done
Josephine, Joan
better.
is asking if you have had, independent of interview process, have you had a direct conversation with your manager about the situation?
Yes.
And if so, what was the response to that?
That's what I'm saying. They give you a feedback and say, I'm sorry, on this occasion you didn't get the job, but then I want a detailed, constructive feedback to say this is what you could have done. But we are now asking for a mentor or a coach, because
there's coaches available at UCLH. Speak to Loxley, and I believe once you have a coach, that person will be able to guide you through the process and help you to get to the next level.
I have spoken to Loxley recently, and I'm just waiting for him to send me the information that he promised to send. So
excellent.
From there.
Excellent. So
excellent.
Paulette,
so when we next hear from you, you will be in your next level.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. I hope so. I'm really glad.
And really, if you're attending the next event, Josephine, I might ask you if I'm, well, actually, I don't know if I'm at that particular one, but we want to know that at least you've made contact with a coach before the 15th of October.
That's right. I'm hoping, I'm waiting for
deadline.
Loxley to send me the details, and I'm very happy to do that.
Loxley, it's all on you now. So
Thank
Paulette, you're most welcome, Josephine, and thanks so much for speaking up and sharing your experience.
One thing I would say is that one needs to stop and look, how long have I been at this organization? Do I have to be continuing being at this organization? What are the opportunities outside of this organization? Because sometimes we're very comfortable where we are. And sometimes for me, I have moved from place to, different roles, because sometimes you got that skills. So you need someone just to help coaching and whatever. Don't sit where you are comfortable if they don't want to give you that opportunity. You need to.
That's my next goal for. That's my goal for next year, definitely.
Okay, we'll take up.
So we need to stop being used by our organizations. Stop being used by your organization.
Thank you so much. That's my goal for next year.
Wonderful, Josephine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to Joan and to Paulette. Just to recap very, very quickly, and I hope I could do this in 30 seconds, is, it starts with that self-awareness. So between Joan and Paulette, I've just pulled together some of their sort of top level headlines, okay? Self-awareness, emotional intelligence, you heard these phrases, be proactive,
That's right.
Prioritize time for your own development. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Bring your manager the information. You want to go on a course, you bring the course. Tell them what it is, what it costs, what the time is. Don't just say this is what I want to do and think that they're going to go and do all that for you. So prioritize and take control. Lead yourself before you can lead anybody else, basically.
Yeah.
Political awareness. Joan talked about that, knowing the powers that be. She goes into an organization, she finds out who the chief exec is, who the chair is, who these people are, who the senior managers are on the board, where have they come from. Trust me, some of them are pretty colorful. And when you find out about some of their antics, you'd be like, oh, like a soap opera sometimes. But apart from that, that helps you realize these are just people. These are just human beings. Yeah, they're not monsters, to be fair. They're just human beings.
True. It's true.
The next thing is diversify your network. So, you know, so key, so very, very key. Don't be hemmed in to this one type of people that you're always with, whether it's socially, whether it's professionally, whatever. What the people around you are who you are and who you will continue to be. So if you're hanging out only with band fours, trust me, that is who you're going to be for the rest of your life. You got to hang out with the band fours, yes, but you also got to start befriending the band fives and the band sixes, befriending the 8As as well. They talked about getting to know your managers, building rapport with people, not just at your level, but even at senior levels within your organization. Network, go out and about and meet people. I was actually offered an 8C job because of somebody. I was at a conference talking and thinking I was minding my business, but I didn't know there was a woman standing next to me listening to what I said. After what I was saying what I said, NHS England, she said, I'm building a team. I want you to apply for a role.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
If I was hiding out behind my desk in my job, not ever going anywhere, and this is something I did on my own time, I would never, that wouldn't have happened. And I didn't even know she was listening or that she was even whatever, right? So I was just answering a question that somebody asked me. So network, go out there and start to meet people. If you're swimming with sharks, I love that one. Just learn to swim safely. Don't get out of the water. Just learn to swim safely.
Thank you.
You can't do it alone. Access the help that is available. We've said it again and again. Coaching, mentoring. Loxley's going to send you the details on how to access the coaching and mentoring at your organization. He's going to include Joan's and Paulette's details as well, because they both run their own organizations offering this service. Be willing to move if you need to move. My story again. Move. I've moved and I've moved. I've always set myself a limit. 3 years, no more than 3 years. This is the only post where I've stayed a bit longer, and COVID was one of the reasons, but 3 years. So you actually enter that job knowing you're leaving in 3 years. That changes your whole behavior. It changes your mindset. It changes your attitude, changes your relationships. You know that in 3 years' time, I'm not going to be here. So you're here for a purpose, and you're going to achieve that purpose, which is to build your skill base and to build your network. The next thing is be prepared to ask questions. So Joan gave a fantastic tip there. If you get into a meeting, always prepare beforehand to ask a question, because that makes you stand out. Joan talked about the experience with the chief nursing officer. Nobody in the room asked a question. Joan stood up and asked a question. And that's how Joan is like, you know, she's like the beloved of all the CNOs that she's worked with, because she's a bit like that, right? So we want to thank you all for joining in. Very quickly, just to say, the next event is on the 15th of October. And oh my goodness, you have got Dr. Patrick Vernon. You have no idea. I don't know who knows him, but I know him, and he is just extraordinary, okay? He's just so lovely and so accessible and so wonderful. And he's done so much at a national level for Black and minority ethnic people here in this country. That's exciting. I'm going to tune in for that. Then you've got also Roger McKenzie, Deputy General Secretary of UNISON. So another very heavyweight person coming there. Come, even just for Patrick's sake, you're not going to regret it. On the 20th, oh dear, you've got yours truly, H. Michelle Johnson, and Dr. Ruth Oshikanlu, another MBE, and we're talking mental health and well-being. We're talking resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity. And then on the 22nd of October, it's women's health and men's health. Health, sorry. We've got Miss Susie Neal, who you all probably know. She's a consultant associate professor at UCL, and she works at UCLH, gynecologist, so not an oncologist, a gynecologist, sorry. You've got Jean McDonald, a consultant urological surgeon, again, BME consultants coming to talk to you about their experiences and so on. And Bridget York, a lawyer. So the thing is, I'm just giving you a little whistle stop tour. On the 30th, Black excellence, arts, spoken word, music. We're talking entrepreneurship. Dave Nita is on that bill, and he's not only is he like really, should try not to be too girly. I was going to say, not only is he really good looking, ladies, but he is such a gentleman. He's so accomplished, and just for the eye candy alone, you should definitely attend that event. Okay,
and he's a lawyer.
And he is a lawyer.
That's
oh my
fantastic.
gosh. Lawyer, lecturer, motivational speaker.
Fantastic.
I'm trying to get my Word document to do what I wanted. And then you've got Loxley promoting Black businesses and so on. So Winsome Duncan, I don't know them, but they are a performer, healer, poet, author, singer. So that sounds like a lovely social event. Keep an eye out. Loxley will be sending you the follow-up email and information. You'll get another send out of this lineup. They have invested. Pat and Loxley have worked hard to put this program together. It's for you. It's for your enrichment. It's for your benefit. It's for your inspiration. It's for your motivation. It's for you to aspire to greater things or better things where you are. So this is for you. Take full advantage of it. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you so much.
To our panel guests tonight as well. God bless you
So
all.
big thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
You've been inspirational.
Coordinated it and keeping us all together and in time and in tune.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank
Lovely.
you, Pat and Loxley and
Loxley, in fact, I just realized, Pat, Loxley, did you all want to say 2 words very quickly? I'm so sorry.
I just want to give a vote of thanks to you fantastic panelists. You've been fantastic.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed every moment of this. It's been really eye-opener. And I'm hoping everybody else that has tuned in and managed to stay till this time has, really gained something from it. You ladies, you don't know what effect you're having on us. I'm thinking, my God, what am I doing at UCLH for 32 years? I wasted like 29 years. I should have moved on years and years ago. But you tend to think that you're being loyal to the organization, but guys, be loyal to yourself.
Exactly.
Think about what you
be
want.
your own best friend is my
And be
term
your
for
own
that.
best friend. Because nobody's thinking about you or caring. You get the odd manager. I know one of my ex-managers is actually listening, and she's been fantastic and inspirational. But we don't come across them so frequently these days, unfortunately. And there are people that are still having a lot of struggles. That's why Loxley and I and some of our other colleagues wanted to put on these events and give people the chance to speak up. Yes, they haven't spoken out tonight, but I think we'll get to that as the program progresses. And also I want to say that I think we're stronger together. Yes. So let's start getting together. Let's have that talk that we need to, talk on a regular basis and see how we can move each other on and support each other. Because we know that some people are really down in the rut and they're thinking, well, where do I need to go? Where do I turn to? Yes, I want to improve on my career. I want to, sort of make moves or whatever, but they're not quite sure how to do it. Let's see if we can come together, as one and sort of encourage people so that they can feel encouraged to move on and, gain those skills that they need to so that they can, go forward in their interviews. What is it are they doing wrong? So we can all help each other. You don't have to be a Unison member. Remember, we've all got something in common. We care about people, and that's why we work in the NHS. So we should care about ourselves as well. So thank you all so very much.
This meeting's just about to close down at 15:15. It will close.
Can they get this meeting? It's on YouTube, I see there. So you'll send the link to the YouTube so people can come back to it, isn't it, Loxley?
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, terrific. Thanks all. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
You.
See you again. See you again.